welcome to Into the Abyss. I'm Tom McDonough.
C.W. Ryer,
and Kevin Lucia.
and Goomba.
So we are back. We're trying to figure out what we want to do with the show. A lot of things have changed. Okay, Chuck's writing career is kind of taking off. He's a lot busier than he was.
Taking off. I'm busy.
Busy.
There's another. They're taking
I
off.
guess
with
I guess
something
busy and
different.
taking off are two different things.
Yeah.
I no longer work for Cemetery Dance full time because I'm currently going to grad school for my full time teaching job. But we still want to film things and share our thoughts about movie cinema with people. So we're going to just try to make things very simplistic and start doing monthly movie reviews.
The world is lacking enough middle-aged white guys talking
That's
about
true.
stuff.
You really nobody asked for more middle-aged white guys talking about
But
horror
you
movies,
have it.
but you got it regardless. So tonight's movie is
We have corgis.
That's true. That too. Tonight's movie offering is The Offering, starring Nick Blood, who also did he produce it or direct it?
Looks like he directed.
Yeah, Nick Blood. Nick Blood is from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He played Hunter, the spy, so it was really cool seeing him in a movie, in a different kind of movie. Tom, you're beginning. What are your thoughts on The Offering?
It's a 2023 one, and I enjoyed it. Quick synopsis: it takes place in a Hasidic Jewish neighborhood. Son and his pregnant wife come back to visit their mortician father. Unfortunately, a Jewish demon is involved, and things happen. Now, I actually like when they have this culture movie concept where it could be based on Catholicism or Judaism or Protestantism or Hinduism or Buddhism. I think I've seen a lot of them. And I like that they actually do their homework, they investigate, they don't just throw it out there. And I mean, I do like how
This movie showed signs of people that are. I'm just gonna guess people who are Jewish or maybe even Hasidic Jewish involved in production, but they deeply involved, and you can tell through the movie that they cared about telling an honest story versus exploiting another belief for a story.
Yeah,
very good.
I thought it was really well done. Like I said, I was glad to see Nick Blood in a very different vehicle, and it was really well done. And one thing I was telling you guys earlier, again, preface this. We don't want to co-opt anyone's heritage or anything like that. Being a bunch of middle-aged white guys who are also of the Protestant faith or Catholic faith. But I would, I would like to see more Jewish horror movies. I think with that folklore there's a lot of folklore and mysticism that's untapped. But keep in mind, it's also a white non-Jewish guy saying that.
I think just other cultures in general.
Exactly.
Orthodox horror. Or, there's so much potential in Far
Indonesian
East,
Muslim horror, or
Far East and Pacific horror, stuff like that.
Absolutely. So Tom, one strengths of The Offering.
Strengths that it wasn't a teeny bopper movie. It was actual adults dealing with stuff, and you can actually. It wasn't so much someone's good and someone's bad. It's just here they are, and it looks like something so small you would miss in the real world. But I liked it. I think it worked well, and I would like to look deeper into the mythology itself. I kind of find it funny though. The whole thing starts with an academic, aka teachers. Who are the ones responsible for this?
Thank you, H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
Chuck,
I will say it shows the runtime of 1 hour and 34 minutes. 1 hour and 33 minutes of the movie is good. There's additional stuff at the end that I'm like, we all agree, like, the movie's better without this. We don't need this. That said, you can enjoy the other hour and 33 minutes. It was good up till that point. The other part is just, it's excess.
Yep.
You said you was trying to explain too much.
Yeah, the ending does over-explain. Where I think if we left it with implied only, everybody would have got it.
Yep.
I would say that I enjoyed the characters. They were flawed characters. They were real characters. And again, the production values were very high. So I thought this was really excellent.
Yeah, I commented like 20 minutes into the movie. I thought that the characters they were not only complex but very well acted. Yeah. It was highly enjoyable. I did enjoy the movie. It was a good spooky possession movie.
Yeah. Tom, so you had a book review you wanted to share. So
yes, we have here.
I don't know who this author is.
Of course not. Joey Leonard's Last Horror Movie Marathon by one Kevin Lucia.
I had nothing to do with this, by the way.
No,
he likes to do this to embarrass me. Just
not at all. Now, believe it or not, I know this looks like I'm pumping Kevin up, but this is actually a pretty good short horror novel to read.
That's for the That's for the OnlyFans page. Anyway.
Okay, I mean, wait till you get to the OnlyFans. You see what my bookmark is. But no, I like it. I'm not going to give it away, but just Joey Leonard is a proprietor of a movie rental store, which most of us know are dead. And he kind of hates the fact that,
Sad face.
yeah, no one's renting the VHS tapes anymore. So he takes them home to his horror cave that looks suspiciously like Kevin's. And then he's drinking Tullamore Dew, which, I kind of introduced him to. Anyways, there's a forbidden horror tape. Things happen, and I don't know. I mean, was Kevin trying to say Chuck and I are a bad influence on him? I don't know.
No, if I were to be allowed a slight ethereal aside, Joy Leonard's last horror movie marathon was kind of my ode. So I grew up in the 80s, but in the 80s I was a sci-fi fan, so I didn't really watch a lot of horror. But when I became a horror fan and then discovered Tubi, it was overwhelmed by how many horror movies were made in the 80s.
True.
So Joy Leonard's last horror movie marathon is kind of an ode to those VHS, almost like an era that I never got to experience. So that's why it was really important for me to write.
Kevin was never kind in Rewind.
No, I was kind of rewinded. It was just all sci-fi. So, Chuck, you had something you wanted to share.
Yep. Instead of talking about what I've read recently, I'll talk about what I've been working on recently, and that's Artificial. This is the binder I've been using for proofreading. It's a collection of 4 horror stories based around the theme of AI. Gets very much into AI in things like the arts or therapy or security, those kinds of things, and how things can go terribly, terribly wrong. It was actually a fun project for me. I'm an engineer by day and systems engineer. And while I didn't go into AI development, a lot of that was with my academic background, things like that, things like computer learning and stuff. Learning from professors who were literally writing the textbooks on AI and machine learning. So I got to tap into a bit of that and explore that and do something that's very Black Mirror-esque. One of the stories I leaned heavily into my love of Silent Hill, went kind of that direction with the horror.
Silent Hill.
Yep.
There's a new movie coming, from what I understand.
Yeah, there's new projects coming out for them. So it's with the anniversary coming up. So it was a fun project that's coming out this summer. Artificial stories of AI horror.
So what I have to share with you, obviously, I'm watching movies all the time. Let's be honest, I'm watching trash most of the time. Like right now,
His favorite.
Yeah, it is my favorite.
He's basically a raccoon.
I am a horror raccoon. I would agree with that. And I know that Gary McMahon, who's a horror author in Britain, he feels the same way. And he once posted that on one of my posts that he loves the fact that I find all the trash that he loves. Like, for example, I'm currently watching.
I'm going to meme you after you leave. I want to get a picture of raccoon and say Kevin Lucia.
There you go. But the trash can should have Tubi on it. So, like, I'm currently watching Cannibal Apocalypse with John Saxon. It's about Vietnam vets who come back apparently afflicted with a rabies-like cannibalism. Ooh. And I'm also watching Death Ship, about a Nazi ghost ship.
The Kriegsmarine. That's the Nazi Navy. Yeah. It was a concentration camp ship.
But the movies that I want to talk about today are, first of all, Street Trash, which is like, holy cow. It's very exploitative. We'll get right there. It's about homeless drunk people and about how this unscrupulous liquor store owner discovers this case of liquor that's just been sitting there forever. It's called Viper. And he's like, man, I never bought this. This is just sitting here free. I can make some money on this. The only problem is that Viper causes people to melt and explode. I mean, literally melt and explode. There's a scene where a guy's sitting on a toilet and he drinks some Viper and he ends up melting and he ends up accidentally flushing himself. You know what the funny thing about a movie like that? The funny thing about a movie like Street Trash, though,
like Trauma.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a trauma film. I don't think it was a trauma film. but it
Full
was
of vibes.
it was also really honest about urban living. You know, a lot of these people were people who fell through the cracks, or they went to Vietnam and didn't get the help they needed. So on one hand, you have this really gory splatter film about people who take one sip of alcohol and they blow up or they melt. I will say this: the practical effects on this film are fabulous. I mean, if you love watching a person disintegrate into purple goo, this is a movie for you. So I was
It's
really,
like a
really
twisted version of Willy Wonka.
kind of, except people
Don't drink the stuff you're not supposed to drink, or else.
Yeah, but the people don't really know it though. There's no warning or anything like that. You just show. So the second movie I want to watch is The Burning, which The Burning, it has the distinction of starring Jason Alexander, who is being better known as George Costanza, with a full head of hair and like actually being a cool guy. So that was hard to get over there. That A, he had a full head of hair and no glasses, and B, he's not George Costanza, he's a regular guy. But The Burning is an interesting movie because it's basically about this camp like caretaker maintenance guy who everyone thought was creepy, and they play a prank on him, and they put like a pumpkin.
A skull with flames on it with a candle.
Did they ever explain where the skull came from?
No, but
I'm
he was
guessing-
horribly disfigured.
I'm guessing it was a plastic skull or something like that. And it was a skull that had candles in it. And the guy freaks out, knocks the candles on, and burns himself up. So 20 years later, of course, there's a camping expedition camping in the same area. You know, like your typical summer camp, which I don't even know if these summer camps exist anymore. This is very much an 80s thing going with summer camps. And of course, he's in the woods and he's at large and he's killing people.
As you do.
Totally stereotypical, very much tropey. What's interesting about this movie is we don't have a final girl.
We have a final girl.
We have a
Couple final guys.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil
Yeah.
it. I'm making a joke.
We have a final guy, which is pretty interesting about this movie, and it's one of those movies that manages to kind of transcend, you know, its trappings. I don't know if you guys have any other movies you want to share that you've watched recently, or
You go first, Charlie.
I have not been watching a lot of movies recently. In
You've
general,
been
I've
busy writing.
You know, also with family stuff too.
Right.
But I am looking forward to, I think, the Watchers.
Family. Yeah,
Family. The Watchers coming out this summer. Looks like my kind of jam, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I may have actually pushed this before, but I'm going to push it again because I really liked it. On Netflix, they have the streaming series known as Kingdom, and it's Korean horror, Korean zombies, of course, but it's actually set in what we consider medieval Korean period. So you are dealing with a lot of royal family scandal and infighting, beautiful cinematography, and some very good explanations. So, I mean, I can't really recommend anyone to watch Kingdom. And they weren't just covering the things like the zombies, but also hunger being used as a weapon, certain clans that just dominate the royal family. It was good stuff. And make sure you watch with subtitles. I mean, it's not too hard to look at the subtitles, please.
Yeah.
I have a movie recommendation, which I promise you I will watch by the next time we get together. I just saw this. People were sharing it on Facebook. It's a Japanese movie, so I'm assuming it's subtitled. It is called, I wait for
I'm waiting.
it, Zombie Ass Toilet of Death.
Wow. Okay.
So I may have to watch that before we get back together again. Zombie Ass Toilet of Dead. Please remember.
As long as Kevin does not see something deeper in the meaning, that's
Well, anytime there's a story, there's a subtext. There's just that's just how it works.
oh, I mean,
This
just like the
photo
lighthouse.
represents the human condition.
Do I have to bring up the lighthouse again?
That was more my thing.
That was a really good movie, but
No, it
still,
wasn't.
anyway. One thing I would like to put out there for everyone is that on July 1st, I'll be celebrating the release of my newest short story collection, When the Lights Go Out, published by Cemetery Dance Publications. And I want you to, those folks that are seeing this on my Substack, we're planning something for that July 1st, looking at maybe a movie watch or something like that. So just keep watching this space. And if you're on the Cemetery Dance YouTube and I'll put my Substack link in the description so you can come over and add us on. And we're looking at doing some sort of like release party for that. So
Your dog just farted at me.
that's great.
He was
So,
also snoring earlier.
do we have any final thoughts?
That the fart's gonna stink in about 3 seconds.
Yeah, the dog's fart was unfortunately that's the final thought. That was unfortunately that was Gideon's final thought on
Gideon or Goomba.
everything that we watched. So, well, again, thank you for tuning in.
Eat, drink, and
be
be scary.